Nermina Harambasic, and we're here to talk about a very topical topic, AI applications in mining. So I'll just give a little introduction to Nermina. Nermina is a project management and advisory expert. She has over 35 years of experience, mostly in the mining sector, but also in the petrochemical and renewable industries. She has provided oversight and board advisory roles on offshore wind project. She is an electrical engineer with a major in automation, and she's currently exploring how AI can benefit the mining industry. In fact, I was just at the CIM event in Vancouver last week, CIM Connect, and this was a topic that came up many times, many panels. And if you're looking on LinkedIn and other platforms, you could see that the mining industry really wants to know what's going on in this area. And we have the perfect person, Nermina, to take us through this here. Taylor, if you can just show a couple of my slides, I'll just get the ball rolling with some of my thoughts on the topic. So I spent about 5 years in Europe, and the way that they look at technology is quite different, or at least it was quite different in North America. And I love this quote. And it says, in Sweden, if you ask a union leader, are you afraid of new technology? They'll answer, no, I'm afraid of old technology. So they're always looking at ways of improving what technologies are out there, what technologies are used in the general public, and how they could be used in mining. And hopefully this is carrying over in mining in North America as well. Next one, please. This slide shows over time how different sectors of our economy have looked at technology, digitalization, and so forth. So you can see, to the right, the information, communications are way at the top of the curve. You have media, you have finance, as you would expect. And then mining tends to be a bit of a laggard, and you could see agriculture way to the left, and then mining and metals, and then some other industries as well. So my question is, why, for example, you could have sensors in agricultural fields, and it tells you when you need to water, but the same thing could be applied in mining. If you have a heap leach application with a sensor, you can tell where you should be irrigating and where it's over irrigated. If you have robots, for example, looking for weeds in fields, you can have the same thing in mining, for example, ore sorting, separating waste from ore. And, why, since AI is so new, mining should not be a laggard. We're in the same boat as everyone else. It's just right now, what applications, what specific examples can we use in mining? So I'll turn it over to Nermina, and the question would be, what does this mean to you? Why are you interested in the topic? How did you become interested in the topic? And we'll take the discussion from there. So over to you, Nermina.
Thank you, Nathan. Thanks for generous introduction. Being automation engineer by training, artificial intelligence was really part of my early training. Unfortunately, at that time, the technology was not there for the actual implementation. We did get the theoretical background, educational background, but the best we could have done with the technology, and I was lucky enough to be part of it, was the implementation of the expert systems, which frankly, compared to today's AI, I would consider it dumb AI. It's a rule-based technology. You had to hard code the all situations and answers. It has its purpose, but it wasn't as versatile as AI is today. So in a way, I was growing up with the AI in the background, watching its development. So like most of us, when ChatGPT came to the forefront, it became very clear that we entered that phase of the actual application, like possibility to apply. And then looking in the short period of time, how fast development is going, I kind of had almost had no other option but to jump in that stream and start swimming like many of us, I would say, and many more are going to join in. So that's where I'm coming from. I see it as extension of an automation tool, A. B, extension of the personal capabilities. I can't draw, but DALL-E can. So all you have to do is ask kindly to give you a image of with certain content.
Here, Taylor, I'll ask you to put on Nermina's first slide. So both of us are quite easy to get a hold of. As far as I know, I'm the only one with my name on LinkedIn, and I think you're the only one with your name on LinkedIn. So we're going to put a couple of articles that you published in the chat room during the show. But if people want to reach out to you or me later or after they see this, virtually, or after the fact, we're very easy to get a hold of. Taylor, switch to slide number 5. So there are examples that I know of that AI is being applied or can be applied, and there are examples that you know of as well. So maybe we'll just touch on some of them. So for example, AI tools are very good at certain things like identifying patterns, and I've read about articles where in cancer treatment, if you look at the X-ray, the radiographer is able to see certain trends, what could be cancerous, and AI is very, very good at that. And if you extend that to mining, just like geologists are able to look for patterns of where to drill, AI tools are very good for spotting where the next gold deposit, for example, would be. So these are some examples. Just like a geologist can distinguish between ore and waste, AI tools in ore sorting or shovel sensing, like in MineSense, are very good applications. Of course, we've heard about examples of autonomous trucks or even remotely controlled drills and so forth. And then the one that I'm very familiar with is maintenance and performance safety. I just met a group out of at CIM in Vancouver that was looking at this. And I had an application in the past when I worked at McEwen Mining where there was a sensor on the side of a crusher. And just from the noise that looked like random noise to us, the AI was able to determine if the crusher was tilting left or right, if the ore was wet, if it was being overused or not. So maybe I could ask you if from this category here or other categories of what type of applications you've heard about in mining and which ones you think have the most promise.
Yeah, it's lots of applications are based on the image processing. You mentioned them. Most of the references you mentioned are actually based on that. So exploration field, is the one that probably has the how should I say, most applications or tools developed. It is area that probably needs most help to start with. So let's talk a little bit about that, about how to come up with the use cases for the mining industry. So there are really, I'm going to say, big problems in mining industry that need to be addressed. In the article that I mentioned, I talked about this development cycle, and exploration is a big part of it. So exploration, test work. I haven't seen too many AI tools yet, but in the exploration field, there are a few. If you are interested, open up the link to that article. There are companies with their tools mentioned in there without going through the list. But basically, that's what they are based on, the image processing. And I'm not geologist, so I can't really talk with any intelligence about the knowledge base for all these tools. So I'll just leave it at that point. But what's important really to highlight is that example that you mentioned, where the sensor or noise had been used as a new source of the information. in automation, we use pressure level, temperature, flow as indicators of the status of the process, of the status of the equipment. Vibration is usually used for the equipment preventive maintenance. But now we have all these new kind of ways of analyzing data. And so image processing and sound analysis are brand new tools that can be and should be integrated in the automated systems. So when we think about implementation of AI, there are a couple of ways to look at that. One is to look at the replacement, if you wish, where in examples of the exploration, we had geologists going out to the field, looking at the terrain, looking at the samples, and making conclusions. Now with AI, we have drones that can survey the terrain, survey the image, come to certain conclusion faster than the geologist, or really just help geologists make that educated call. But we should also, so in a way, that's something that is usually referred to as copilot or enhancement tool. But we should really approach the use cases from transformative point of view, rather than just looking how to help current technology or supplement current technology or replace current technology. Can we revamp the processes in such way using this new technology? Of course, AI cannot solve everything, but in conjunction with the other innovations, we should start looking at the processes. Crushing, grinding are very intense, energy intense processes, configuration. That's where the most money goes into. So if you step back and start looking how the AI in this case can reconfigure the process rather than just do the incremental change. So I'll just leave it at that. It's a tall order at the moment, but I think it's quite possible.
While you were talking, I was thinking about, if you look at exploration, that could involve the juniors as well as, producing mines, all the way through to major mines where you're talking about productivity gains, safety gains, extractive gains. So it's not just for, the juniors or existing mines. It could be used throughout the whole stream of mining.
Oh, absolutely. That's just the beginning. So one application is going to inspire others. Say, oh, I can use it in the other field, or things like document filing. I always say filing is easy, retrieval is difficult. So finding that relevant piece of information within pile of the documents, manuals, absolutely. That's in a way it's the same logic, same algorithm that is looking for the gem within a pile of the information, whatever it is. So it is transferable technology. And just going back to a little bit about the implementation, we all have to learn at least some basics of the technology so that we can understand what are capabilities and limitations, because not every problem needs or can be solved by AI. So that's really important. So it's almost we have to learn new language. It's equivalent to learning new language. You're going on a trip to Italy. So just learning a couple of phrases so you can order the food. Basically, that's the level of the education that we all should have when it comes to the AI. Just understanding the language.
Exactly. And, and it goes beyond mining. Of course, it could be used in procurement. It could be used in legal documents and so forth. There was a question that came in about human interaction, but I just want to leave that for 1 second. Maybe Taylor, pull up her slide number 3. I think this is a good place to jump to. Yeah. So the question is, some of the questions that executive teams and boards should be asking themselves, and it's not specifically for boards. I think every one of us could ask some of these questions. So, you know, uh, what do you know about AI technology? So how far advanced is individual mining companies, and what examples could they be used? I like this one. What are the consequences of not using AI? How can AI change our industry, or how has it changed? So if you look at these questions, Nermina, when you talk, I know you do presentations to boards and senior managers at company. What kind of questions are you asking them, and how do they respond to these type of questions? How much do they know, and how much what type of examples can they name that their companies can use AI for?
So frankly, AI field is overwhelming for anyone who works in technology and is used to change in the product. Every 6 months, you will get new version of, let's say, I worked with C++ many decades ago now. And every 6 to 12 months, a new product would come out, and everybody wants 2 years of experience on that product. With AI, you wake up every morning. If you're subscribed to the any of the newsletter, you're flooded. There is tsunami of new technology, new applications, so on and so forth. So grasping AI technology is not an easy task. That's why I'm arguing nobody is really an expert. So with that, fear of technology should not exist. So for anyone who wants to learn even a little bit, it's possible. It's possible to extract the information. There are ways of doing that. You can reach out to myself. I can help you out to just extract the basic knowledge. And then I would suggest you sign up for the couple of newsletters to get the information. So what I'm finding in my conversation is executives are well aware of technology. They don't have a really time to learn about capabilities, and they kind of delegate that to a department. But my argument is AI technology is not really implementation of digital technology. It requires it's integration of the company knowledge. You are basically digitizing company knowledge or expertise in some ways, in many ways. So the awareness of technology as existence, that's common, but knowing how technology can be benefiting the industry, that's something that I think most of us are still struggling, and so that's okay. That's okay to understand that you don't have to be an expert. You just have to start to get going, and you'll get there. So that's the current feedback I'm getting. So in understanding that technology needs to be implemented is out there. One of my slides has statistics, general statistic, which is supposedly up to date, and saying that I think 83 or 86% of companies are planning to use AI or are cognizant of need to use AI. So again, bridging that gap between wanting to implement technology and actually implementing the technology, that's the area that I'm exploring at the moment now.
Your comments remind me of a story. So when the first phone came out, the cellular phone, here's my first one. How many people thought, well, here's a new phone, there goes the taxi industry? So, where AI will start and where it'll end up, and in mining specifically, who knows? But I think the point is, we have to start along the journey. So there was a question about, where humans fall into it. And I'm thinking of two specific examples. So sometimes just because a technology exists doesn't mean we should use it. For example, if you had a high cost country like Australia, where they have lots of fly in, fly out operations, the cost of a truck driver might be, a couple of $100,000 because you have to fly them, pay the driver, feed them, clothe them, and house them, while they're on site. And that's very different than if you were in a mine in Mexico where people are not paid the same level and they actually rely on the truck driving to give the local community jobs, especially women in the community. So, the case examples of having an autonomous truck in Australia versus in a remote community are very different. And the other one about the people side is like, for example, in froth flotation, you can have a camera looking at the froth, guiding the operator on how the froth looks. Should we add more xanthates? What's the recoveries look like? Versus a totally uh, controlled environment where it's not just helping the operator, but it's controlling the whole circuit. So, of course, I think we need humans to train us and to tell us, what a good froth looks like and so forth. But the question was really about the human side of the industry and how that would impact on AI. And I was just curious if you have any thoughts about humans and AI specifically in mining.
Well, we've seen that technology does not necessarily takes jobs away from people. It helps. It changes the jobs. So it's in my mind, mining is a perfect industry to apply this technology because it's a remote place. It's frankly very it's accident prone business. Health and safety is a big thing in our industry. We pay lots of attention to that. So I see AI as a co-pilot to human activities, helping or alerting people to hazardous situations in one way. So that's one possibility. Replacing even with these remotely operated shovels or humans are still there. Humans are still involved. So is it going to be a time when humans don't need to be involved? For sure. Yeah, technology is going to continue to advance, but it doesn't mean that people are going to be unemployed. They'll just do some other stuff. They'll be retrained to do maintenance on AI. AI is still not at the stage where it can completely replace the humans. Not today. We don't know what OpenAI is doing at the moment or what Tesla is doing at the moment. But I just see it being reconfigured. The industries are going to be, so our societies are already reconfigured. We have AI influencers. We had human influencers. That job didn't exist before, but people are making money of it. So I'm not saying we're going to start having the influencers in mining industry as a supplemental income, but there's going to be new types of the job descriptions. And hopefully they're not going to be as tasking on human body and mind as it is at the moment. So let's face it, mining industry is a tough place to work in.
When we had our discussion with Christina Visser of Ionic Engineering, a lot of her examples, fell into, automation and robotics and so forth for applications that were dusty or inherently less safe than other jobs. So her examples always, would come back to, those type of applications where you would try to take people away from the face or away from a dangerous situation, and see if those applications could be used with robotics.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's robotics. I believe humanoid robots are going to be moving into mining industry, and they should. They are already in car manufacturing, and they're being hired there. But again, that doesn't mean people are going to disappear from mines. People are still going to be there. One example that you talked about is flotation. I remember back on Voices Bay project, we tried to use that. It was Finnish company that had that first product with cameras looking at the flotation bubbles, trying to figure out how's the reagent addition, so on. So it's been around for what was that, 35 years? Well, there are still people in the flotation circuit looking at the bubbles. So
There was a question in the chat about the training data and large data. But before we do that, Taylor, I want to make a point. If you could bring up my singular graph, the one that's, yeah. So this one might be a little bit hard to read, but I find it fascinating. So when AI first started, you could see, it took a little slope to get to about 70%, and then after that the top bar is like about 100%, and then you see some applications where AI does even better. So starting off with voice recognition like we had in our cars, and automated operators, and then handwriting recognition and so forth. And then if you look way to the right, the curve is almost straight up asymptotic, and it takes AI matter of days to master elementary math or high school math, and then it takes days to master certain things. And then what I found interesting, if you look in the middle, it kind of plateaus off at about 120%. So the point that they're making in this article, the virtual capitalist, is with the power of machines, we're actually running out of training data, which is what the question in the chat was about. So there's a couple of things here, and it'd be interesting to see what you found. But one of the examples it gave is that AI was able to master certain things, but it fell apart. Like, for example, the example they used in the article was, if I said, I thought my trip to Vancouver was going to be awful, but it wasn't. It doesn't pick up on that nuance. Like it thinks it was a negative comment. So it's very good at certain things, but it kind of misses certain things. So I guess that shows that, first of all, we need to provide it with more training data on what the nuance is, versus some tasks it was very good at mastering, and then others it took a little bit time. So I don't know what you got out of that chart, but I'd be curious to
yeah, it's well, the most recent focus is really on the emotional intelligence. There are more than a couple of companies that are focusing on that. I know that one of the executives of the well-known company in the AI area or environment left the company to focus on the consciousness. So we are merging into the, AI started as a field in psychology, really. So we are going back to human psychology to uncover these nuances. And they are being, I've seen, they're being improved and introduced. What was that? I guess I might be wrong, but I believe it was Chat GPT 4.0, where the AI is actually able to recognize the human expression, just read the human face, and comment correctly on the what's going on behind the expression. What kind of feeling, what kind of environment, what are the next steps. So it was pretty good in predicting the human behavior just based on the expression.
There was an article, it gets back to the question about training data, and it was something like it was about 95% accurate on guessing the gender for white males, and then it dropped like into the 60s, I believe, for black females. So and they were trying to explain why, and there just wasn't enough training data, to do that. So, does mining have enough data? And we hear that a lot. Like, is there data in mining? Is there not? If you have a vibration sensor on a crusher, you're going to get thousands of points every millisecond, whereas other things like geology, where you only have a finite number of rocks, and then a geologist has to classify it into different mineralogies. And if you have a rock that's half and half, like what would a geologist classify it? So is there enough data in mining, or is it specific to the task we're trying to find? What's your opinion?
Well, as you said, there is a pile of data. I know every automated system has its own archiving branch, or the module. So there is a pile of process data, let's say, available. So there is a saying, what you measure, what you don't measure, you can't control. So anything that we try to control in the past or currently controlling in the industry, there is a data. So industry does have a data. Now, if we are to expand the AI application in the new field, we of course have to have data. We have to collect data. So going back to the question, large training data sets, are they, when they're, can be obtained for specific application? The answer is yes. There's got to be, depending on the application, there's got to be, if you don't have such data, and there's, usually it's visual. You can put cameras and track the particular parameters you are looking for over the period of 2-3 months in different conditions, and so on and so forth, and train your algorithm on that set of data. So second part of that question, can it be done internally? The answer is yes. Should be data collection should be done internally. It should be, because again, AI is very different from the I'm going to say digital technology. It reminds me a lot of the automated systems. You need both understanding of the process. You have to know process, so to be able to implement the technology. So there is technology part, there is a process part. So you have to have both sides covered. So, but in collection of the data, there should be always an input from technology side, because the implementation of that data has to take into account the technology. So if you have in-house expertise for technology, then yes, you can cover it all in-house. If you don't have in-house expertise for technology, you have to hire a technology firm to help you out in not only data collection, but also strategy development and many other steps in the implementation. So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, there's a third part of the question. So it says, is there a possibility for outside firms to work with mining companies to help them to gather all this data? And can different companies share their data? I know on mineralogy it would be different, but on crushers or ball mills it would be the same. So great question. Would that be work done within the mining company, or does it open up the possibility for new outside companies to do that work? So you sort of touched on that, but maybe a combination of the two.
Yeah. I'm big believer, coming from the project management, like large project management side. It really pays to spend time planning on a paper before you go into implementation. So more varied opinions, expert opinions you get, the better you're off, because it boils down to the risk removal or reduction, rather, understanding the process better, and the plugging in unknowns. You're always going to have in implementation of anything something is going to pop up. But if you can predict or most of those uncertainties, you're at much better place. So one way of doing it is engaging, I would say, multiple contractors. Some maybe to help you out, roll out the process. The others just to do the oversight and give you third-party opinion and fourth-party opinion. Because just sentence, just one. If there is a company that's going to uncover one issue and bring that to the table in time, it's going to save you lots of money down during the implementation, development, and the implementation. So I'm a strong believer in the second, third, and fourth opinion. I come from that environment. I worked on the large projects with lots of parties involved, and it was always valuable. So.
Yeah, that reminds me of a quote Carl Weatherall from CMIC always said that, things happen at the speed of trust. So technology development happens at the speed of trust. Any kind of JVs, cooperation, and this probably falls into the category. I know AI thinks quickly, but the human part of it. If we don't trust each other, we're not going to share our data. We're not going to share our experiences with AI.
The way I kind of started, well, it was always the case. Data is really the company knowledge, isn't it? So there are two issues. One is the knowledge, know-how, and the other one is privacy, data privacy. In technology, what I learned recently is that technology can actually work with encrypted data. So whoever is your technology provider doesn't even see, although it's using that encrypted data for training, doesn't see, quote unquote, that data. So privacy can be solved, and the issue of the safety of data, whether it's somewhere on a cloud that anybody can access, or it's somewhere on a private server that has limited access, it's solvable. It costs money, but it's solvable. So that's one issue. The other issue is sharing of the information and data. When it comes to there are so many parties and involved in I worked for the EPCM companies for most of my career. So we've seen many clients and many projects. So our personal experience or our personal knowledge that we gained over a period of time is really based on the information we gained through work with different configurations. So we are privy to that information. That's going to be the case with the equipment provider. Equipment providers see lots of data from the end users, and it's protected data within certain environments. It's not shared widely, but there is a limited sharing of data. So it's already happening. So I don't really see that it's going to change. We have a way to share data, let me put it that way, and still keep the confidence and privacy intact.
There's a comment in the chat by someone named Ismir with the same last name as you. I don't know if there's a relation or not, but it said it is possible for the data to remain on premise and to utilize it using homomorphic encryption. So I think that kind of is a way to have the data stay on site, but to share data with third parties as well.
Exactly.
Taylor, can you jump to the last slide that we have from Nermina? Yeah. So this is I know it's hard to have a cookie cutter approach, but some of the things to consider and some of the steps when looking at the AI journey. So maybe you could just take us through your thoughts on this.
So it's really comes again from my background in the large industrial project management. I'm talking multi-billion-dollar projects that you cannot just jump into and start pulling all these pieces together, hoping that the end product is going to look like your specification or what your client wants it to look like. So you cannot, and I've seen some examples where there is attempt to, I understand why, when it comes from a really good place, you want to start using the AI, but you don't know where to start from. So you attempt, you find some application within your company, or you find tool that you think will work for your company, and you start implementing without considering many aspects of AI. So my kind of message here is take systematic approach. Reasons, there are many reasons for them. First of all, and most important reason is you're going to live with this technology for decades to come. So from now on, companies are going to be integrating AI. So you have to really think it through. It's not just going to be, okay, I'm going to use this tool and that's going to be the end of it. Even if you are trying, I'm going to say trying not to use AI, AI is going to be embedded in many products that you have a license for. So as you are upgrading your licenses, AI component is going to be there. So you'll be using it. So the question becomes, in that implementation, where is all data that you consider your know-how is going to end up? So you have to look at that. You have to look at the whoever is providing you with the AI solution. What is the security of the data, that your data that is going to go? Another thing is, who owns data? Once you share data with somebody, even for the training, who owns that data? Are you still owner of the data, or that third party is now the owner? The other aspect of course, most of us know that by now, is the quality of the data, because that's how bias is introduced into the LLMs. If you train data on a certain set of the information, and that set is not representative of your real situation, you're going to introduce bias. So once you roll out the application, that application is, there is something called hallucination within the algorithms. It's going to start spitting out the outputs that you cannot relate to. So reason being, I mean, there are many reasons, but one of them might be the quality of your data. So the quality of data is another consideration to think about. Impact on the workforce. We talked about that. There is fear of technology. You really have to have very strong communication strategy within company, letting everyone know what the intent is, what are possible consequences, and most importantly, really involving everyone to contribute. Because as we talked about initially, identification of use cases is crucial. Let people bring to the table their use cases, get them involved, get them excited about the new technology, get them have some sense of how it can help them. So that way the implementation is going to be a lot smoother. Plus, there are lots of people with knowledge that will be leaving company. You don't have replacement. You have to train new force. AI is perfect for that. So understanding what AI can do for organization, and understanding it's not a threat, it's an opportunity. It's a risk, of course, but if managed, it can be a huge benefit. So that's my basic message here. Take systematic approach. Don't wait. Start small. Develop use cases. Treat them as go. Put them through normal mining cycle. Go through pre-feasibility study, feasibility study. Do the pilot program. These are good steps. The mining industry has some really good processes to de-risk the projects, and there is no reason not to use those processes on the AI implementation. I think actually other industries can learn from mining.
Those are so many great insights, and the audience is agreeing. Yeah, I could see why it could be overwhelming for a board or a CEO, but the point is, bring in people like you or Pace or others or both of us, and come up with a list of possible pilots. You can't do 100 projects, so narrow it down to a manageable amount, two, three, one, so that you at least get started, as opposed to just being overwhelmed or waiting for the mining likes to be the first to be second, or sometimes the first to be third. But there's no need to do that within mining companies. Just pick a small pilot project and get started, I think, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly, exactly. And beauty of the implementation of AI, everybody contributes. So you have senior experts in your company. Bring them on the table. They know how, and then you bring brand new graduates. They know technology, and you need both. You can't do just one or the other, because new graduates without background in mining, like any new graduates, really, you're getting into industry, you don't know, what you learn in school, you don't know what the industry actually looks like. And so there is really top to bottom need for the involvement from the board level to the maintenance mechanics, health safety operators, designers. I didn't talk about design part of it. That's coming up. I've seen some applications where actually you can do text to drawing application where you ask for a house with certain parameters, and it spits out the complete set of drawings that are good. They're working on the addition of the permitting requirements for your jurisdiction. So all you need to do is give me a log cabin with 3 bedrooms of certain square footage, 2 levels, and it's going to spit the old drawings that you need with permits and everything else.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to ask you a question, but I think I know your answer. So, sometimes we have people in the industry with 30 years at the mine site versus people who are 20 years old and know more about the new technology, for example AI, but nothing about the industry. And I was going to say, like, what's the approach? But I think what you're saying is you really need both sides, people that understand the technology and people that understand mining and its potential applications.
exactly. So in that way, it really reminds me a lot of the automation, which I'm familiar with. You cannot just know how the DCS coding part or wherever. You need to know process, so you can correctly configure control systems to do what it needs to do. So
When we were in Vancouver, there was a panel discussion on ITOT, and Colin Peggy's from Valley in Sudbury. It's not a direct quote, but he was saying stuff like IT is looking at it like Fort Knox, and every time OT brings in a new app or a new application, they're trying to bring in new things, and IT is trying to shut it down as fast as he can bring it in. So there's always a dichotomy, a tension between the IT and OT applications. And I think this might fall into that, security issues versus trying to make improvements in the plant.
exactly. Well, it's my proposition is form your team, form your AI implementation team, and bring all these parties on the team. And that really comes from my background in the management. Once you bring all the interested party around the table and everybody starts contributing, those walls are going to come down. People will start understanding the requirements, both technological and I'm going to say emotional requirements, and start talking and solving the problem rather than finding the reason why not to. They'll find the reason why to implement. Over and over again, it works. At the end, humans are still in control. I don't know for how much longer, but it's the technology is going to adopt us if we don't adopt technology in a proper way. So we better just start.
There was a question in the chat. I think we touched on it, but I'll read it to you exactly. Will the data scarcity problem affect AI development? and what are the ways to tackle it. I don't know if they mean in general, in the world at large, or in mining. But well, first of all, do you think there's a data scarcity, and how could we tackle that?
Well, it's not being data engineer. I can say from one segment, and I kind of mentioned that there is a lot of data. It just needs to be cleaned up, can be collected in a certain way. There is also a tendency or development in the algorithms. Currently, let's say the supervised learning is probably the most data intensive in terms of just because of the required output for that particular algorithm. But if I'm not mistaken, AlphaGo actually trained itself based on the output of its own that algorithm produced. So, and there are already the algorithms that are producing their outputs and using so whatever AI algorithm or LLM algorithm produces, it's using as an input or as a data. So it's kind of has that loop. It's closed loop system in automation. It's closed loop system with the feedback, right? Mm-hmm. So that's happening already. I don't know how far that is or how common it is, but I'm sure that it is going to. So that's one way that's happening. Again, data is there. It's just that garbage in, garbage out type of thing. We've been using that expression for as long as I've been working in the industry. So that didn't change. And data scientists and data engineers know much better how to deal with that. Mm-hmm. So I would say in some segments, yes, there is data scarcity, but we can collect data once we figure out that we want to implement that particular tool or we want to develop a tool, we'll come up with the data. I don't see that as a problem.
Time is really going quickly, in fact, too quickly. So what I'll do is I'll make one point and then I'll leave it to you to wrap up at the end. So Taylor, if you could put on my slide, the last one. So I showed this slide many years ago, and it kind of shows how I'm looking at the topic. So when I first started programming, which was on cards using Fortran, you were able to play tic-tac-toe. There was very few moves. In fact, if you put an X in the top corner, it's the same as putting an X in the right corner because you could just rotate the board. So with a bunch of if statements, you could play tic-tac-toe and guaranteed you never lost. And then, it evolved onto playing more like checkers and then chess. And then, in fact, in 1997, IBM's Deep Blue was defeated defeated Kasparov, the world champion. So, it took a few years, and then it took another couple of decades. In 2015, Google's DeepMind was able to defeat probably the hardest game on the planet, which is the Chinese game Go, and the world champion Fan Wei was defeated by a computer. So, just in a few short decades, we went from human programming in Fortran to chess, which we thought was a great accomplishment. But even chess has a limited amount of first moves. And then Go, which pretty much has an infinite amount. And the thing that they found was the human computer made moves that a human being would never make. It was kind of contradictory or counterintuitive. And then, we learned from how the computer played Go, how a human could improve its game. So just in that short amount of time, where are we in mining? Do we want to play tic-tac-toe? Or do we want to play chess, or do we want to play Go? And I think your point is, well, at least start somewhere. Start with some examples. Maybe we're not jumping to Go, but jump to tic-tac-toe. I'm not sure.
Well, there are technologies and tools, applications rather, not technology, but applications and tools that are developed. And I'm going to say off shelf. Off shelf in this case really means you still need to train algorithm on your own set of data. So it's not off shelf. So you start with the easy tool, debug the system. By the way, I believe Go is Korean, not Chinese. And then
Oh, geez.
this is the example where that internally generated data within the algorithm was used to for the training of that. I believe it's called AlphaGo algorithm. So it's answer to the previous question. I think I mentioned that already. So even internal generated data, and there are ways to corrupt data and use data. Well, corrupt, not corrupt, but the if you have a limited set of data, you can change them artificially and train them on the like images. You can change the put them through the filters and create multiple images from a single image, and in that way simulate the actual environment. So there are, just to answer more, to supplement my answer to previous question, going back to your question, Nathan, where do we want to be? Ultimately, I've been accused in over the years that I want to automate to the point where there is only start and stop button. And I still want to do that. So why not? What's the problem in automating the industrial processes? It's you can focus on the other stuff within the process. I've been to really highly automated cable production facility in Germany. That was probably the highest level of the automation that I've seen.
Mhm.
But there are still people there, maybe fewer people, but they're still there. So,
Taylor, I'm going to give Nermeen the last few minutes to wrap up. So if you could put on her slide number 2. So Nermina, if you want to tell us what we learned today.
okay, so these are just some takeaways that I would like you to leave with. Get to know AI. If you need some basic training, it's half an hour to an hour. Yeah, but that can be done. It can introduce you into a language. You can start speaking a language of AI. Reach out. So I would encourage you to do that. I would also encourage you to subscribe to one of the AI letters. Spend, I'm going to say, 10 minutes a day just glancing through the headline, the major advancement in the industry, so you stay current. AI is already here, so it's not that we have a choice. Really, it's being implemented. I've seen or heard, you probably heard as well, the big announcement coming from Microsoft saying they're creating some sort of memory module where they will be taking snapshot camera. You're in front of your laptop, and laptop is taking snapshot of your face. And I'm sure recording your voice as well and storing that for the reconstruction of some of your past. God knows, they didn't tell us what is that going to be used for, but the things are already happening. So whether we want or not, AI is here. Let's use it for the benefit of the industry. Our industry can benefit greatly from AI. It's really, let me just mention here the development cycle that I believe 18 years from the exploration to operation. And everybody's complaining about lack of the investment in the mining industry, and we know how difficult it is to raise the funds. So AI should help in some of these fields. Can you please bring back that slide so I didn't memorize it. So we do when I say we, mining industry already has the tools. They are available. Get familiar with them, see what works for you, and then create that adoption process, create strategy for adoption. even if it is one or two applications, have it in mind. If you're junior, develop, request your EPCM companies to start integrating AI tools in the solutions they are offering you. Because by the time your operation is up and running, AI is going to be widely adopted. So that's my kind of conclusive portion of this talk.
Well, the hour has flown by, at least for me. So just a couple of thank yous. First of all, thank you for the audience for being here and for asking the questions. Thank you for Paystock Global for sponsoring the event. Nermina, thank you for your time. It's been fascinating, very interesting topic, and we can only wait to see, how AI can be used in mining. I think that last point there about the strategy is important. So the message is like, don't be overwhelmed. There's people like Nermina to help companies, help boards, help with the strategy, pick out pilot projects, talk to your internal people, and there's still messages coming in here. We'll have to tailor if there's a way to agglomerate all these and get them off to Nermina. But like I said at the beginning, reach out to Nermina, reach out to me, reach out to Pace. There's help there. Don't be overwhelmed by the topic. There's the most important thing is to get started on the journey. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Nermina.